Generation X. In general terms, those born between 1965 and 1980. Latchkey kids. Independent. Existentialism. Modern philosophy focusing on personal experience, human ability, and responsibility in an otherwise meaningless universe. We're the cause. This is the effect. We're the Gen-X-istentialists. And welcome in, friends, Romans, countrymen, to the Gen-X-istentialist podcast. My name is Scott.
And I'm Bunny. How you bigots doing out there?
Bigots. Are we saying bigots or like biscuits in a southern way?
I'm talking to all you savages out there. How you doing?
Savages. Aren't we all savages in our own way?
Exactly.
Yeah, with the way the country's going, pretty soon we're all going to be like at each other's throats and shit.
Country's going great.
Yeah, we're a rolling dumpster fire, and we're just waiting for somebody to come along and put us out, as it were. Good. So if you know us and you know this podcast, what we do, we roll or spin Mega Wheel the Magnificent. I say roll because Mega Wheel has grown to how many questions do we have now?
We currently have 1541.
1541, and that is after the great censorship episode.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about that. What happened?
Okay, so we use a free program called wheelofnames.com. You can go to that site and check out. You can make your own wheel and have fun with it. Well, the reason we use this one is because it will accept copious amounts of questions. We have tons of them. Well, for some reason, I knew they had a family-friendly situation going on where they wouldn't let you say bad words or talk about Holocaust denial or anything, fun subjects.
Think of the children.
Exactly. So apparently they ramped things up. They got a new AI to search through all of their stuff. And it was forever, Meg had grown to over 2,000 questions.
Yes. 2,000
questions. She was ready to roll, literally. And every time I tried to share it with my co-host here, it kept giving me an error message saying, there's terms in this list that violate our family-friendly policy.
That would have offended me.
I know. I looked everywhere on their site. They do not list. They list that they have a policy. They don't list the words or anything. They're just like, anything that might be offensive. Well, I hate to say it, but we live in America 2025, and people are offended every time you fart sideways. It offends 90% of the population. So I was going through, I was cutting things out, I was abbreviating things, every mention of sex or boobs or murder or anything fun like that in the questions. I censored them all. I kept trying to save it. It would not let me share it.
Wow.
So I finally said, I'm going to fight fire with fire, and used ChatGPT. I put all 2,000 questions in and said, could you go ahead and collate all these questions and flag everything that could be considered not family friendly by today's AI standards.
And it flagged everything.
It flagged a ton of stuff. And I said, okay, go ahead and rewrite all of those questions in a family friendly manner. So
there's a chance when we spin the wheel, we might get some questions that make no sense then.
I wouldn't crap on the old girl that much, the old ChatGPT, who has told me to call her Nell, by the way. So Nell.
So you're like in, okay. So for anybody that's wondering, Bunny and I have kind of a dichotomous view between us of AI.
Yeah.
Bunny is slowly coming around. He's learning to use AI. He's using it as a tool. And I get that. I'm the one who's like, AI is evil. AI is the devil. I don't like the idea of it. I don't like anything about it. So we're on different sides of the spectrum there.
Yeah. Well, my theory on AI is, the Pandora's box has been opened. It's been opened years ago, and there's no putting it back in. So your best bet is to either learn to use, there's that phrase that was made popular in the 80s by punk bands, etc., called surf the Kali Yuga. And that's basically what I am trying to do with new technology anymore. It's like you can drown in the coming floods of the Kali Yuga, the dark days, or you can learn to surf it. So I have decided to embrace AI. My gorgeous wife has purchased a year's worth of professional chat GPT for me. So I'm pushing the limits, trying to figure out what it can do, what it can't do. And it helped a ton with this stuff because let me tell you, 2,000 questions, lots and lots of words, lots and lots of characters. I was digging through that list for hours looking for bad words. And every time I thought I'd squashed all the bugs, more bugs. So,
wow.
There you go.
Okay. So let's go ahead and give Mega Wheel the Magnificent a spin. And I got to tell you, the new photograph that's on there, I love it. For anybody who doesn't know or didn't know before, Bunny lives near a railroad track.
Yeah, you might be able to hear a train going by.
Yeah, in the background there. So,
me and the hobos.
Okay, we've got our first question. If you could live forever, would you want to? And why? That's similar to a couple questions we've had in the past, but it's a little bit of a different take on it.
Yeah, I think I would like to live forever.
But why?
Why would I like to live forever? Because I think it would be interesting to amass as much information and talents as possible. This is provided you're going to live forever in a relatively healthy state.
Sure.
And not like, the God Emperor of Man from Warhammer 40K or something where you're just this withered corpse hooked to a machine and you live forever, because that's no fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the ability to amass great fortunes, to be able to sway humanity after a while because of your amassed knowledge, fortune, talents, it would be kind of an interesting concept. Now, would it be sad to lose everyone around you? Sure.
Yeah.
But I think after a while, you'd end up either going crazy or you'd end up getting to a point where you transcend that idea of loss and things just become, ephemeral to you. So everything.
Yeah.
How about you?
I would agree. If I could live forever, I would want to. And I think the biggest problem would be that sense of loss. You would have to, with me, everything comes back to Star Wars. You would have to give up attachment. You would have to come to grips with yourself being a signpost, a totem in the world, and other things are going to move around you and happen. You're always going to be there. And I would agree, the biggest thing would be seeing the change. Like, if we've talked about this multiple times before, the amount of change in our lifetimes alone with technology has been enormous. And we're both in our early 50s. Picture where things are going to be 20 years from now, 50 years from now, 100 years from now. Granted, the entire world could be a burned out wasteland, or maybe humanity comes to its senses. Maybe we start curing diseases. Maybe we figure out ways to actually progress instead of, fighting and being greedy.
Now let's not go crazy.
Well, but I think that would be fascinating, and it would be a reason to want to live forever. So yeah, I'm totally down with that. Should we give Meg another spin?
Yeah, the family-friendly Mega Wheel.
Yeah, family friendly. So the wheel is family friendly. Can I feel free to add expletives and things into the questions when I
Of course you can. Yeah,
okay.
You're Generation X. You're allowed to do whatever you want then.
Okay, so our next question is this. If you could know the truth behind any one secret or mystery, what would it be?
The truth behind any one secret or mystery.
Yeah.
There are so many. I mean,
there are two that immediately pop into my head.
Well, go for it. I'll let you pass this baton to you.
Either God or aliens.
Okay.
So
now, why would that be important to you to learn about either one?
Well, it's not necessarily important to me. I mean, I'm doing fine living without the truth of either one right now. But if I could know the truth behind whether there is or isn't a great unifying metaphysical entity, i.e., God,
Mm-hmm.
or if I could know the truth behind whether we have actually been visited by interstellar aliens, other races. I think that's the one I would choose. The whole God thing doesn't really interest me as much. I really want to know whether there's truth to the whole alien thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so and that would be my choice.
Okay. See, I've always been more of a Pascal's wager kind of guy, where
Okay.
I'm really I want to believe. I want to believe in a God. I want to believe in heaven.
Yeah.
I want to believe in all these things, and I would love to have some sort of reassurance about that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one. Another one would be I'd like to know if there really is a sort of hidden hand manipulating things on this planet, or if people are just really stupid and slapping things together and just, there's no one really in charge and it's just all a bunch of chaotic crap
Ding
that
ding ding. We
happens,
have a winner.
Yeah, but I'd like to know.
Yeah, yeah. No, I totally get that. Yeah.
I mean, it would either, that knowledge would either reassure me and give me something to fight against, or that would horrify me and make me stay inside the rest of my life if everything was just absolute chaos.
Yeah, and you know what? That's the biggest thing. Like if you're a scientist and you start going down a path of real discovery, you have to deal with the ramifications. So this is a simple question on Mega Wheel, but either one that we choose, we're going to have to deal with that knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the scary part. Not necessarily getting the answer, but what do you do with the answer after you've got it?
Well, there are so many people. I mean, I know a gentleman who apparently died and came back.
Really?
And yeah, and
don't name names. Is it somebody I know, or just
it's a professor from NKU actually.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
he went to hell apparently and came back. And now
Wow.
he is a minister and I guess a professor of what he saw.
No kidding.
Now, to him, he knows the truth.
Yeah.
So that's like you knowing the truth about one of these things is fine. Getting other people to believe you
Yeah.
is the hard part. I mean, because what is one man's truth but another man's, fantasy
Right.
or lie, shall we say? But yeah, it was a very interesting story about that gentleman, and he, his family didn't want to believe him. His children didn't want to believe him. Students didn't want to believe him. Now, did something really happen? I don't know. It was enough to change his entire life track.
And isn't that the weird thing? That people in general are so quick to believe so many things, and yet when someone that they know, that they trust, that they believe in, has an experience like that, they won't believe it.
Yeah.
It's really weird, like humanity and what it takes to convince us. There are certain things that, I mean, you can see it if you watch the news, if you watch talking heads and pundits, that some things are just accepted outright and you don't understand why. And other things that have scientific backing, even that you can show your evidence, like they used to do in math class. Show your work. Here's the work, here's the conclusion, and people still go, nah, I ain't buying it. It's just insane. It's insane that humanity has gotten as far as it has with the way we come up with our belief structures.
Oh, yeah, it's a wonderful thing is you're allowed to believe anything you want. I mean,
Yeah,
if someone doesn't want to believe, that's their prerogative,
sure.
and they'll deal with the consequences one way or another, and so will you if you believe.
Sure. Sure. It's
Yeah.
just fascinating that like his family wouldn't believe.
Well, I mean, here's a similar situation. Now, we had a friend who was accused of some fairly horrible criminal behavior.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and a lot of people immediately just kind of separated from the thing because they couldn't believe that it happened. or that it didn't happen.
Yeah.
It's very hard to, and for the record, it didn't happen.
Correct. Yeah.
But it certainly damaged the family structure.
Yeah.
Because of the allegations.
Right.
And now that's a more that's less firmament and more reality, situation. It's not, we're not talking gods and monsters here. We're talking human monsters and other, and lawfare and stuff like that. And it's interesting that the people that stand by someone and believe them no matter what, it's an internal fight that you have to take. I mean, are you going to go on the front lines and defend somebody that you've known your entire life and say no, or are you going to go along with the masses and say, oh, I don't know, I'm just going to distance myself from this whole situation? I think it's the same thing with the gentleman who had the religious experience. He was not a religious man before that happened. He was quite the opposite. Yeah. Quite the proud atheist, quite your typical college professor type, super liberal, proud. Yeah. I don't believe in anything. I'm a sybarite, essentially, just enjoying life. And apparently something happened, and even his family couldn't believe him. So it was such a wild turn of events of that person's character that. Yeah. I mean, it's got to be scary if a mother or a father suddenly flips on a dime. Flips. Yeah. And just.
I guess for me, the whole thing comes back to this. Even in that example, and me being incredulous, that I guess my incredulity is about his family not giving him the benefit of the doubt more. Mm-hmm. But I guess it all comes down to this: whatever is put forth. Don't just accept the result or the thing, demand evidence. Because everything is about evidence. And can you have evidence for a near-death experience? Not really, but you can compare it to other incidents.
Yeah. Is your change of behavior, is that the evidence? Yeah. Is someone going from walking the path of darkness immediately to turning around and walking the path of light? Is that enough evidence for you, or is that somebody had a stroke and now their personality is different?
That's a very fair point, because we're bags of chemicals, and our physical form affects our mental form and vice versa. So,
Now, this gentleman did not suffer any sort of brain damage other than actual dying, I guess. Right. The lack of oxygen there. This was a perforated stomach, of all things, and poisoning of the internal organs. And then he went septic, and then he died. And this all happened in a rural area where they couldn't get him to a hospital. Oh. And by the time they got him to one, he came back and had seen all these terrible things and wonderful things, because he was saved by the light. Supposedly that's what helped him, because he prayed to God as he was being torn apart by shadows. I don't know, I mean, that's, then light
suddenly
came
I'm
in.
more doubtful with those animals.
Well, who knows?
Yeah.
All sorts of weird stuff. It's thoroughly detailed, his description, and it's terrifying. Yeah. And pretty weird. It's a bad situation all around.
Yeah. Should we give Meg one more spin for this episode?
Yeah, might as well.
We will give her a spin, and I mean, truly, the wheel with the photo in it that's on it this time is just truly horrifying.
Yeah.
But she landed right side up, so that's a good thing. Mm. Okay. So this is right up your alley. Which 80s D&D adventure module or box set? I swear, I'm showing it to you right now. This is what it says. Which 80s D&D adventure module or box set do you remember most fondly, and what made it stand out?
Wow. All right, so probably 75% of our audience completely alienated by this question because they may not have a background in this. Your boy Bunny here is a nerd and has been playing Dungeons and Dragons since since 1980 actually. I'll keep it brief just because I don't know how entertaining this could be for people, but Temple of Elemental Evil is probably the one that sticks out the most to me, and why it does is because it has an amazing intro called The Village of Hamlet, and I've based nearly all of my personal DMing on The Village of Hamlet. It's
so that's where Hamlet comes from, is from that?
Yes, it was created by Gary Gygax. It's the perfect starting village with the right amount of people to make your characters really care about the village and care about the people there and the structure of it. I've run so many people through that module at this point that it's kind of a standby for me. And while the entire adventure itself is ponderous and miserable, and I've never been able to get anybody to stick all the way through it to finish it, the intro village is worth its weight in gold. So that would be mine.
Okay. See, that sounds like a challenge to me that I'd like to take up if you want to go back and do it.
If you guys have a spare year or two to play, glad to run you through that.
Yeah, so. Why not? Because I honestly don't have an answer for this. I will tell you, and I don't know if you know this or not. Years and years ago, back when there was the Waldenbooks in the old Crestview Hills Mall.
Oh, yeah.
On one of our trips there, because me and my mom and dad used to go there all the time. My dad called it our ritual trip for some reading material, and we get books and stuff. I got the D&D starter set that came with like the blue dye and like
the red box.
The red box with the white crayon to color in the numbers and stuff on the dice. And I did that, and I thought that was loads of fun. But it was like I don't know why you and I weren't like talking about this, because I didn't know what else to do with it. And it was just one of those things where I read the whole thing and it was interesting, and I started doing stuff, and then I just kind of forgot about it because there wasn't anything else I could do with it.
Okay, so that box set probably had an adventure in it called the Isle of Dread. I think, was that the one that had a dinosaur on the cover?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so that would have been your first module that you would have.
Yeah.
Probably.
And it was in this display, this like rotating display in the one part of the store there.
That's where I got my monster manual. The first edition monster manual was at the Waldenbooks in Florence, at the Florence Mall. So that was pretty great.
Awesome.
Waldenbooks,
yeah. Back in the good old days. Yep. Taking a trip back in time. Well, that'll about do it for this episode of the Gen-X-istentialists podcast. Please join us next time. Please like, subscribe, add, leave comments, do all kinds of things wherever you are listening to this. And there's literally a plethora, from RSS to YouTube to Apple Podcasts, all kinds of different places you can catch us. Bunny, any final thoughts?
I thank you for your interaction with us. It makes the show much more interesting when you leave us comments and stuff. So please do.
Absolutely. So until next time, my name is Scott.
And I'm Bunny.
And we'll catch you later on. Have a good one.